Salut tout le monde! I did a video a couple of weeks ago about the 5 American things that I do that drive my French husband absolutely crazy 11 years after I've moved to France, because you'd think that I was 100% Frenchified, but there are still some American habits lurking there in my personality. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out here before watching this one. So a lot of you have said it is only fair to do an opposite video doing the 5 French things that your husband does that drives your American self crazy. Of course, Robin has never lived in the US, so we do have to be pretty kind, right? And we can't expect him to be fully Americanized, even if he has to live with me 100% of the time. But I still thought it was a good idea to talk to you guys about the 5 things, and then you can judge who is right and who is wrong. No, I'm kidding. There's no right or wrong in a couple, only compromises. All right, you have to let me know in the comments below if you relate, if these type of things drive you nuts about the Frenchie that you're living with, if you're living with a foreigner and there's specific things that your American side can just not get over. I can't wait to find you guys in the comments below. But if you're ready, c'est parti! I have to start out with my #1 issue, and the thing that I probably say to Robin the most often, which is complaining. Honestly, my husband is a world-class complainer, and so is the French in general. It's just part of their culture. However, I grew up in a very different culture when it comes to complaining, and it's more about staying positive, and it's just a very different energy that we project. And so that can be a lot for me. In the Midwest, you don't really complain unless there's a real problem. Like, if I'm upset about something, of course I can complain about it. But when I'm speaking up, it's because I'm really unhappy. However, the French tend to complain just for like a national sport. The wine harvest was terrible. The weather sucks. My dessert was too crunchy. The food at work is crap. And on, and on, and on. You would think that they are constantly unhappy with the amount that they complain. But the thing is, it's not even true. They're really not that unhappy. They just enjoy complaining. And when they're complaining, it's not necessarily about something really serious. And so part of this is cultural, because for me, as soon as someone's complaining, I think there's a real problem. I think I need to find a solution. I think I need to fix it. I think I really need to pay attention and really listen to Robin, because this is a really big deal. And actually, when he complains, afterwards, he forgets about it. And I'm like a little sponge. I kind of sponge up the complaining energy, and then it's tiring and it exhausts me. Do you guys know where I'm coming from? Do you ever feel exhausted by the French complaining? I think this one might be a bit of a surprise for all of you, because it's not as easy to guess as the complaining, for example. You would be very surprised how often Robin and I debate about taking a car somewhere. It sounds ridiculous, but I grew up taking a car everywhere. Like, I had my license when I was 16. We had 4 to 5 cars in the family. We would drive 24 hours one way to go to the beach on vacation in the summer. Cars are like a second home to us in the US. And of course, my husband grew up more like the French, which he knows a car and he was definitely in cars, but he was taking high-speed trains. He was also biking places, walking places. He was taking public transportation. He was on the bus. So while I love living in Paris, and we don't have a car in Paris, and I now bike and I take my feet and, you know, I take the metro and everything, I really, really love taking a car. Like, I have no issue getting inside a car and sitting for the entire day and traveling for hours and hours in the car. And my husband does not have that same love for a car that I do. So for example, when we're planning a vacation and someone says, okay, well, we'll camp out here, but then we'll take the car 2 hours today doing this, and then 3 hours the next day here, and then 3 hours here, and then maybe we'll grab a plane, but then maybe we'll come back and we'll grab the car again. I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, why not? Let's just hop in the car, easy, no problem. And Robin is like, no, no, no. Not only is that not good for the environment, but on top of it, I hate being in the car for longer than say 4 or 5 hours, like 6 tops. And I'm definitely not spending my vacation driving around places. Like, that's not relaxing. Whereas I'm like, put my daughter in the back, sit in the car, and I find that to be such a relaxing moment. I don't know, there's something about sitting in the car that I think really comes from growing up in the US and spending so much time in a car that I find it very soothing and very comforting. And Robin's not necessarily a car hater, but he really, really doesn't love it in the same way that I do. So he often tries to get out of it. And to be fair to him, the size of French cars are not nearly as comfortable as like the massive 7-seater van with a pull-out bed that 5 people could sleep on that my parents would drive around. But still, even in the tiny French cars, I just love a good car. The next thing is really linked to the stereotype of debating in France. The French grew up loving a good debate. It is ingrained in their culture. I often say to people, there's probably nothing worse than not having an opinion about something to the French. Because basically, if you don't have an opinion, that means that you're not educated about it, and that means that you're not very interesting, because all of the French grew up learning how to form an opinion and then articulate that opinion in a pretty organized way. I grew up in the total opposite environment. I have never taken a debate class in my life, though they do, of course, exist in the US, but never been in a debate class. Very non-confrontational environment. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. This type of stuff. So I'm not used to the same type of debate culture that Robin is. And I've never really been pushed to share my opinion when all of the people in front of me or when the person in front of me has a drastically different opinion. And Robin and I don't necessarily have drastically different opinions on the things that we're discussing, but because he so enjoys these debate cultures and the back and forth and, you know, kind of the witty remarks and everything that goes around a debate, he tends to play devil's advocate in a lot of our discussions. So even when we both agree with each other, he starts playing devil's advocate, so I start defending, so then he comes back, and so then quickly things turn into a debate and I didn't even see it coming. And like a bit like the complaining, it exhausts me. And maybe it's just my own personality and you guys are gonna tell me that it's just me, but I'm just like, ugh, not another debate. Like, this is not even something that I care about this much. We don't even disagree on this. Why do we have to see like each side to every story? Can we like not just agree, not even agree to disagree? Can we not just agree that we both agree and then like eat our pasta in a non-confrontational discussion? I mean, do you guys feel this way? I've just never 100% adjusted to feeling like my opinion needed to be shared and defended for everything. Next up, number 4 on our list, welcome to the land of cheese. Cheese in France is amazing. And I love eating cheese as much as the next Frenchie, and so does my husband. We are both cheese lovers. However, the really stinky cheese is not something that I've ever completely gotten on board with. I don't love the taste, and I really hate the smell. Like, really. I know it's super non-French of me, but I try to plug my nose, like, without using my fingers, like, when I walk into the fromagerie to choose my cheese, because the smell of it just makes my stomach turn. Like, I do not walk in a fromagerie and go, wow, I love it. Because what you smell is like the really stinky cheese. Do you guys know what your fridge and then basically your entire house smells like when you open up your fridge? When your husband, roommate, friend, I don't care who, forgets to close the lid on the cheese box that has the smelly cheese inside that you don't even want to eat? I do know what that is like because it happens to me more often than you would assume. And every time I open up my refrigerator, that happens more times than I'd like to count, and I feel like someone has died inside of my refrigerator and then consequently inside of my whole house. I get very, very frustrated with Robin. I mean, do any of you guys out there want to, I don't know, make your whole house smell like a sewer just because you couldn't put a lid back properly? All right, number 5 and last one. I am a rule follower. I come from a country that follows the rules. When people tell me the line starts there, I wait in the back of the line. When people tell me the rule is you need to save up this amount of money until you can do this, I save up this amount of money until I can do this. I'm supposed to park there, I park there. You get the idea. I follow the rules. That's about the opposite of the French outlook on the rules system. Rules are meant to be challenged. Rules are meant to be ignored. Rules are meant to be tweaked. Everybody is the exception to the rule. It is not the same thing. And Robin and I are very much in our separate cultural camps when it comes to this. Robin is always ready to break, I mean, they're not significant rules, but he's always ready to break a rule, or he's always ready to challenge something that if he doesn't think the rule makes sense or is appropriate, then he's not going to follow it. doesn't really care who put that rule in place. And it causes some tensions, to say the least, because I feel very uncomfortable when I break rules. I don't enjoy it. It's not something that I want to do. If someone tells me that it's, you know, rows 30 through 20 that are boarding in the plane right now, I'm not running up there if my ticket doesn't say 30 to 20. And I'm not skipping lines, I'm waiting for everybody else. And I don't know, I kind of fall in line, and Robin is the total opposite. And he wants to pull me with him on his rule breaking, and I don't want to go. So then I pull him back in my rule following, and he's frustrated to be there. And so it creates a lot of back and forth between, are we going to follow the rules or are we not? Can you guys relate? All right, guys, so those are the 5 things that absolutely drive me nuts about Robin's French side. So now you've got both the American side and the French side, so you've got both sides of the story. Can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I will catch you there, and I also look forward to seeing everybody la semaine prochaine. Bisous!